December 6, 1991. Austin, Texas. The city was alive with the usual Friday night energy as people filled restaurants, shops, and streets, unaware that a tragedy was about to unfold that would change the city forever. At a small strip mall, 4 teenage girls, Eliza Thomas, sisters Jennifer and Sarah Harbison, and their friend Amy Ayers, were finishing up their shift at the I Can't Believe It's Yogurt shop. They were closing up, chatting and laughing, making plans for the weekend, just like any other group of friends their age. These girls were full of life, looking forward to a night with friends and the promise of the future ahead of them. They were daughters, sisters, best friends, ordinary teens with dreams and hopes. But sometime after 11 p.m., the ordinary turned to horror. The quiet of the night was shattered by an act of unimaginable violence. The girls were brutally attacked, bound, gagged, and shot execution style. The perpetrators then set the shop ablaze, hoping the fire would erase all traces of their crime. Just before midnight, a police officer on patrol noticed smoke billowing from the yogurt shop. He called for help, not yet realizing the horror that awaited inside. Firefighters rushed to the scene, battling the intense flames. But as the fire was brought under control, the true extent of the atrocity was revealed. Inside the charred remains of the shop, the bodies of the 4 girls were discovered. The brutality of the crime shocked even the most seasoned investigators. News of the murders spread quickly, plunging Austin into a state of grief and fear. Candlelight vigils were held as the community mourned the loss of 4 young lives. These girls were more than just victims. They were beloved daughters, sisters, and friends. Their faces became symbols of innocence lost, and their families' heartbreak echoed throughout the city. The sheer brutality of the crime left everyone asking, who could do something so evil? The sense of safety in Austin was shattered overnight. The fire, meant to destroy evidence, succeeded in making the investigation nearly impossible. Crucial clues were lost in the flames, leaving detectives with little to go on. Still, detectives refused to give up. They sifted through the blackened rubble, searching for any shred of evidence that might lead to the killers. Every detail was painstakingly examined, but answers remained elusive. The community came together in support, holding rallies and memorials, but beneath the unity, anxiety simmered. Parents kept their children close, and neighbors eyed strangers with suspicion. With the killer still on the loose, fear gripped the city. People locked their doors at night, and the sense of innocence that once defined Austin was gone. The yogurt shop murders dominated headlines, becoming Austin's darkest and most infamous chapter. The case would haunt the city, its mystery and pain lingering for years to come. Decades later, the memory of that night still lingers. The story of the yogurt shop murders remains a chilling reminder of innocence lost and a city forever changed. The investigation was relentless. Thousands of tips, countless interviews, every angle explored. Yet, no suspect emerged. Leads fizzled, hope faded. The case became Austin's most infamous cold case. For the families, time brought no comfort, just renewed grief each anniversary. The shop was torn down, but the empty space remained a silent memorial. Dozens were considered persons of interest, but nothing stuck. In the late 1990s, 4 men were arrested, but that only deepened the mystery. The fire had wiped away evidence, leaving a puzzle no one could solve. For over 30 years, the question lingered. Who killed the girls? The truth seemed lost, buried in ashes and time. While police chased dead ends, Roberteugenebrashers lived in the shadows. In 1985, he was convicted of attempted murder, shooting a woman in the head. Sentenced to 12 years, he served just over 3, released in 1989 due to overcrowding. By 1991, Brashers was free in Austin, his violent past overlooked. He fit the profile, but his name never stuck out in the chaos. Brashers moved from place to place, hiding in plain sight. His record showed a man capable of unspeakable acts. The system failed, releasing a predator who would inflict more pain. The killer wasn't a phantom, he was a known criminal, set free by mistake. The consequences would be devastating. August 1, 1999. Brashers, cornered in a Temple, Texas motel, faced arrest on unrelated charges. With his wife and children inside, a tense standoff began. He released his family, then made his final choice. Brashers took his own life, ending the standoff, and taking his secrets to the grave. At the time, his death was just another news story. No one connected him to the yogurt shop murders. His suicide closed a minor case, but left Austin's biggest mystery unsolved. Even in death, he evaded justice. The man who held the answers was gone. Investigators were left with more questions. The trail went cold again. The city's darkest chapter remained open. For decades, evidence from the yogurt shop sat in storage, DNA waiting for science to catch up. The case files gathered dust, and the families of the victims waited for answers that seemed forever out of reach. Each year, the evidence remained untouched, a silent reminder of a crime that haunted Austin. Investigators hoped that one day, technology would advance enough to unlock the secrets hidden in those samples. In 1991, DNA technology was primitive. The fire left only degraded samples. Back then, forensic scientists could do little with what remained. The heat and smoke had damaged much of the biological evidence, making it nearly impossible to extract a usable DNA profile. The tools available at the time simply weren't sensitive enough to work with such compromised material. Years later, new techniques like YSTR analysis isolated a male DNA profile. This breakthrough was the result of years of scientific progress, allowing experts to focus on the Y chromosome, which is passed down from father to son. For the first time, investigators had a genetic clue that could point them toward the identity of the killer. It didn't match any suspects or anyone in the database. The profile was run through every available system, but no hits came back. The frustration was palpable, so close to an answer, yet still so far. The unknown DNA profile became another dead end, and the case remained unsolved. The real breakthrough came with forensic genetic genealogy. This new approach combined advanced DNA analysis with the power of public genealogy databases. By searching for distant relatives, investigators could build out family trees and narrow down the list of possible suspects in a way that had never been possible before. In 2024, Austin police partnered with a forensics lab to try one last time. They knew this might be their final opportunity to solve the case. The collaboration brought together detectives, scientists, and genealogists, all determined to finally give the victims a voice. Scientists uploaded the DNA profile, traced distant relatives, and built family trees. Each new branch brought them closer to the truth. The process was painstaking, requiring careful analysis of genetic connections and historical records. But slowly, a pattern began to emerge. The search led to a family with a violent history, roberteugenebrashers. As they dug deeper, investigators uncovered a troubling past, filled with criminal activity and violence. The evidence pointed more and more toward Brashers as the likely perpetrator. A direct DNA sample from a close relative confirmed the match. The moment the results came in, the team knew they had finally found the answer. Decades of uncertainty were replaced by scientific certainty. The male DNA at the scene belonged to Brashers. The evidence was undeniable, and the case that had stumped investigators for so long finally had a name attached to it. After 33 years, the silent witness spoke. The DNA that had waited in storage for so long finally revealed its secret, bringing closure to a case that had seemed unsolvable. The case finally had a name. For the families, for the investigators, and for the city of Austin, the truth had at last come to light. Science had done what decades of investigation could not. Through persistence, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of justice, DNA had finally spoken, and the story of the yogurt shop murders could begin to find its ending. The DNA match to Brashers was just the beginning. Law enforcement across the country re-examined cold cases. Brashers' DNA linked him to murders and rapes in South Carolina, Missouri, and Tennessee. He was a serial predator, moving from state to state, leaving devastation behind. His crimes were spread out, making connections nearly impossible at the time. The yogurt shop murders were part of a larger pattern of violence. The revelations brought closure and pain to other families. Brashers' story became a warning about the failures of the justice system. He was unmasked as a prolific serial killer, his legacy revealed by DNA. The truth finally came to light, decades too late. Before Brashers was identified, pressure to solve the case led to a tragic mistake. In 1999, 4 men were arrested, based on confessions from 2, obtained under coercion. No physical evidence linked them to the crime. The case rested on inconsistent statements. Robert Springsteen and Michael Scott were convicted, one sentenced to death, the other to life. DNA evidence later proved neither man was at the scene. The unknown male DNA didn't match any of the accused. In 2009, their convictions were overturned. They were released after nearly a decade in prison. The real killer had remained free. Justice had failed twice. In 2025, the announcement that Brashers was the killer reopened old wounds in Austin. The revelation was a shockwave that rippled through the community, bringing back memories of fear and uncertainty. For the families, there was relief in finally knowing, but also anger and pain. The truth was a double-edged sword, offering answers but also reopening the scars of their loss. Brashers had escaped justice, taking his own life years before. This act of cowardice left many feeling cheated, as they were denied the chance to see him held accountable in a court of law. The system's failure to keep him behind bars haunted them. It was a stark reminder of the flaws within the justice system, and the pain of knowing that he had evaded punishment was a heavy burden to bear. The answer brought closure, but not victory. The families gathered to remember their loved ones, finding solace in each other's company, but the sense of justice was incomplete. For Austin, the case's resolution ended a long nightmare. The city had been living under the shadow of these unsolved crimes, and the revelation brought a collective sigh of relief. The city's innocence had been shattered, but the truth brought some peace. People reflected on how the events had changed their community, and there was a sense of moving forward, albeit with a heavy heart. The exoneration of Springsteen and Scott was final. Their release was a bittersweet moment, highlighting the grave errors that had been made, but also the resilience of those who fought for their freedom. Their ordeal was a stark reminder of justice gone wrong. It underscored the importance of vigilance and the need for systemic reforms to prevent such miscarriages of justice in the future. The story closed a dark chapter for the city and the wrongfully accused. The community came together, united in their desire for a better, more just future. The families could finally mourn with answers. They visited grave sites, held memorials, and found a measure of peace in the truth that had finally come to light. Justice, though delayed, had arrived. The long journey had ended, and while the wounds may never fully heal, the truth had brought a semblance of closure to all involved. The Yogurt Shop Murders show the power and limits of DNA. Science delivered answers where traditional investigation failed. For the families, knowing the killer's name brought peace, but not full closure. DNA cleared the innocent, righting past wrongs. Yet questions remain. How did Brashers slip through the system? What else did he do? With his death, some answers are lost forever. The case is a saga of loss, perseverance, and the power of science. It proves no case is ever truly cold if evidence survives. For Austin, the final word is truth, not vengeance. 33 years late, peace arrived for the 4 girls and their city. The story ends, not with justice in court, but with the undeniable truth of DNA.